Good afternoon. In our sessions today, we're going to talk about tackling the tricky skill of analysis and reasoning, pre-K seminar edition. All right, pre-K educators, what should we look forward to today? Today in our seminar, we're going to help teachers implement early learning standards. Well, teachers, that's you. We'll be looking at the literacy standard 10A with prompting and support. Ask questions about key details of a story, poem, or informational text read aloud. So this standard could live outside of a read aloud or for our tools classrooms, outside of a story lab. It could be anytime that you are sharing information with kids. So that could be through a picture during family style meals, and so on. What we can expect to learn to know by the end of our time together. We'll be able to understand the concept of visual thinking, which is a strategy to promote critical thinking in the lens of before, during, and after read alouds. Or for our tools classrooms, again, that's during your story lab. Now, you may have never heard of visual thinking, but all of us have experienced it. Visual thinking is the ability to interpret, use, appreciate, and create images in ways that advance thinking, decision making, communication, and learning. And hopefully, by the end of our time together, we'll all have an idea of how we can be creators of these images, how we can create visual thinking. Visual thinking is especially important in pre-K because our kids are still learning how to communicate what their ideas, how to vocalize to us what they know and what they understand about what we're teaching, or to even show us. When I think of visual thinking, this quote comes to mind. Picture books are Judah's position of picture and word a counterpart. Words are left out and the picture says it. Pictures could be left out and the words say it. This is a quote by Maurice Sendak, 2014. Maurice Sendak is an author of the popular pre-K book Where the Wild Things Are. I'm pretty sure a lot of you have read or either heard that story before. Now let's do some discussing about visual thinking. How does this connect to our classrooms? Visual thinking is definitely a literacy skill. It's a visual literacy skill, and that could be connected to children's books. A lot of our children's books has, a good children's book would have lots of pictures and minimal words. And so we need to teach. We could use this opportunity to allow the pictures to speak to our kids, or the kids to say what they observe and what that could mean. Think about it. All the signs, all the icons, and the symbols that are around us daily, that's visual thinking. So all of us can have seen some kind of sign or symbols around us. Can you think of any? Good. Now, in knowing that, let's think about what skills need to be taught to develop visual literate students, pre-K students, that is. Give yourself a moment to think about that. You may take this time to jot down in your journal, or you could, some of you guys I know are more visual learners, so you feel free to doodle or draw out your answers. Well, here are a few thoughts that I jotted down. The skills or concepts that come to mind when I think of what's needed to help our kids be visually literate. I think of oral communication as receptive and expressive. Problem solving skills that could be socially or in an experiment. Making emphasis, basically saying things that may not be shown in the picture based on what connections that real life connections that I've experienced or that our students experienced. Listening skills and good old patience. Another thing that comes to mind is the 4Ws protocol by Finley. Now his protocol gives some great prompts that we could use in the classroom with our pre-K students, especially when we're looking at those pictures in our books or print concepts around our classroom. So he asks things like, what do I see? Okay, you might notice something and then you'll say, well, what else? Does it remind you of something? Maybe a personal experience or another image you've seen before? Then you'll think, well, what's the purpose? Is it to entertain us or to remind us of how to do something? Then so what? Well, why does that matter? These are the things that we want to get our children thinking about. So these are the kind of things we want to talk about during our think alouds when we're reading a story to our kids. What do you think? Okay, let's take a look at this picture. This is a great example of visual thinking. What do you notice about the picture? What else? Where is the boy? Yeah, some of you might have said you think he's inside of his house or riding in his mother's car. Yeah, there's no right or wrong answer to this. It's really all about your perspective and experiences that you've had. Look at the frost on the window. Can you describe the weather just based on that? I think it's probably raining. I see a lot of little raindrops on the window. That's the same raindrops or the little balls of water that I see on my shower door when I'm taking my shower at home. I'm getting ready for bed at night. Why does he not have gloves on? Yeah, I don't. Well, from my perspective, I don't think he needs gloves because usually when it rains, I wear my rain boots or I get an umbrella. What do you think he's? What side? What do you think is on the other side of that window? I think the little boy is looking at his dad on the other side of that window. Maybe his dad is leaving home from work to go to work, and the little boy gets close up to the window, trying to get his dad's attention because he wants to go to work with his dad too. Well, just like we all had different perspectives on what this picture could mean and different ideas on the answers to these questions, that's good. This is exactly the kind of conversations we want to have with our children during our read alouds or during our time of discussion. Yep, there's no right or wrong answer to this. Let's do a few more. Let's look at a front cover of a book. I've on purpose took out the cover or the title of the front cover because I want us to use our imagination and see what we can come up with. What do you see? Can you describe what it reminds you of? So what do you predict or think this story is going to be about? What would you say the title of the story is or could be? You can take this time to write your answers down, or you can turn to the partner next to you and discuss it. Let's take about 5 minutes to do that. Another strategy you can use with to incorporate visual thinking in your classroom is to cut off a portion of the picture or the illustration of a story or a vocabulary card. Now, I've done it digitally using a editing tool on my computer, but you could always just take a sheet of paper and cover up a fourth of the paper or the top of the paper to zoom in on a particular part of the illustration. Here's an example. Here's a picture that I downloaded from Pictobuy.com. It's a picture of a lady and smelling a flower. Now, if I cut off or crop the picture down and it puts more emphasis on the lady's expression. It looks like she's enjoying smelling something. At this point, you can't really tell what it is. So this is perfect because now it gives us an opportunity to make some inferences. How do you think this person feels? What is she doing? These are all questions we can ask ourselves or ask our students. What does this remind you of? Good. It sounds like we have so many diverse answers, and we can take the time now to write them down on our chart paper so that we can refer to this later. Well, thank you guys. Had such a great time with you guys today. In our reflection, let's discuss what we will need next week for our planning session. Next week, I would like you to bring a book from a lesson you plan to execute within the next 2 weeks. Here I have an example of if you're your theme is a water cycle or the process of water or what does water do, then you could bring your lesson plan book about water. Second, I would also like you to bring visual supports for vocabulary that you have chosen for your book. So that could be a real object, a prompt, or those vocabulary cards from the curriculum, either your tools curriculum or your creative curriculum. Any questions about that? Does anyone need any clarification? Okay. Well, thank you guys. It's always a pleasure anytime that we have 90 minutes every week to sit down and collaborate together and learn some new things to help improve our practice, to ultimately make sure that our kids get the best learning and the best opportunities of growth. I'll see you guys next week, and most importantly, we'll still have our individual debriefs throughout the week, and I'll be glad to support you in planning for how to incorporate visual thinking in your classroom. Until next week.